Very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. My name is Rowan. I'll be your guide this afternoon, and then Marcel is behind the camera. We apologize for the bit of a delay there. We had some tech issues, but it's all sorted now, hopefully. But it did give us a nice bit of time for Marcel and I to drive around until we found these beauties. Yeah, once again, the Birmingham Pride. So this morning, we found what they had for dinner. And then it seems like hyenas were finishing up. Then it seemed that they probably walked around maybe a kilometer, 800 meters or so away from their dinner, and they came and settled here for the day. So luckily, two of these are white, and the one lioness was actually lying on her back, exposing that white stomach. So when we were driving through the grass, basically the first thing we saw was the paw and the white stomach sticking out in the grass. So yeah, once again, welcome kiddies. It seems like your luck has still not brought me any, well, you've been my lucky charm every single time, because we find the Birmingham Pride every single time. Don't know if you can hear the rustling of the grass in the camera, but we also have a lioness lying down right behind us. She's rolling around every now and then. Oh, she's actually quite cute there with her paw on the branch like that. Of course, just trying to keep cool. Alana from Colorado, only age 5, and asking such a good question. Alana, so lions do not only hunt at night, they are known to hunt during the day, very opportunistic animals, but they are mostly nocturnal, which means they do majority of their activities during the night. This is because imagine in a Colorado summer, and I do know it gets quite hot there, but imagine you had to wear a fur jacket every single day and go out in that sunshine. Imagine how hot you'd get. So if this was your favorite fur jacket and you definitely wanted to wear it during summer, you would much rather wear it at night than walk around in the sun with it. So it's nearly the same thing with lions. It gets really, really hot during the day, and as you can imagine, if they have to go hunting, they'll sprint fast or run fast. They have to stalk, and all of this uses a lot of energy. So it's just cooler at night to go hunting. But also their eyesight is so superior to any of their prey species at night that it's just easier for them. Like all cats, their eyesight is better at night than, let's say, the wildebeest that they had for dinner last night. There's a bit of action here. One female just lifted her head. I didn't really quite catch.
I see a lion while
Good question. So if you, Lace, if you come across a lion while walking, do not ever attempt to run away. Rather stand your ground, act as brave as you can, but don't run away. Once you turn around and run, this lion will think you are prey, and it will come running after you, and there's no human being in the world that can outrun a lion. This lioness in front of you can reach 80 kilometers an hour, and there's no chance you can outrun her. So rather stand your ground. Very good question, thank you. See, one of the youngsters there just behind this lioness is starting to clean its paws. So we'll see, maybe back down. Okay, big yawn from that one. While we wait for them to maybe move around a little bit more, James has found some mongoose, Djuma, so we're going to send you back that way.
Look, it's a tiny little dwarf mongoose, and this is the smallest carnivore that we get here. And although it looks like a rodent, in other words like a rat, it isn't. It's not a rat at all. It is a little carnivore. And that means that it's more closely related to things like hyenas and dogs and cats than it is to rats. And it's tiny. It's only about, it's about the size of a rat. And it lives in that mound. That's its home. And it's got lots of friends around it. But they are hiding in that long grass. Now, if you are a younger viewer, it's great fun to try and say the name of that grass. Well, even if you're an older viewer. That grass is called Chloris. That's easy. And then it's called Roxburghiana. Can you say that? Roxburghiana. Chloris Roxburghiana. I think it's always quite a fun name to say. That little mongoose is looking out for danger and enjoying the waving culms of Chloris Roxburghiana as the sun slowly starts to soften. Well, any of his friends there, Owen? There were some. I think I can see one back there. There we are. No. Nikita, I tell you why I don't think that's cheating at all. Marking birds off in your bird book while you're on virtual safari I think is perfectly valid, and I'll tell you why. It's just because it'll help you to learn. The more time you spend with your head in that bird book, the more you will remember those birds. So I think it's a really good idea that you watch this and mark those birds off in your bird book. And you can just, I tell you what, you can draw a circle around the little number, or you can put a little tick next to the bird, and then you can just write maybe, I don't know, WildEarth or WE or something like that, so that in many years' time you remember that you'd seen it on this virtual safari. And then if you see it again when you come up here one day, you can just put another tick maybe. Now there are lots of little mongoose coming out now. And in actual fact, I watched a video sent by, I think he's a cub master of some description, to a whole lot of kids' parents. And he was suggesting that they come on the safari and they can get their naturalist badge or something like that from being on these safaris. So yeah, I think it's perfectly valid to be ticking off birds on your book. William, you want to know how many teeth a mongoose has? Well, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know, but I will also tell you that I have got an app that will tell me, and then we'll be able to tell you. So, dwarf mongoose, that's what this one's called. And we go to a picture of the skull. And they have 36 teeth. They've got 3 incisors, top and bottom, 1 canine, top and bottom, 3 premolars, top and bottom, and 2 molars, top and bottom. 36 teeth. There you go, William. How many teeth do you have, William? I've got 4 teeth too few. Oh, Gabby in Texas, dwarf mongoose eat basically anything they can overpower. That means anything that they can catch. So, I'll read you a full list of what we've seen them eating. Are you ready? I'm going to do it quickly. Termites, snails, locusts, scorpions, centipedes, earthworms, reptiles, eggs of ground birds and snakes. There's more. Beetles, termites we've said, millipedes, lizards, and a pouched mouse once, caterpillars, pupae, so basically anything they can get hold of. But it must be made of meat. They won't eat, well, they'll probably sometimes eat a very little bit of fruit, but I can't find any record of it here. They won't eat grass and flowers and seeds and that sort of stuff like a squirrel would. They will almost exclusively need some kind of meat product. That was a very cool sighting. We'll continue up this road. You'll go back to Lauren, who's got an interesting 8-legged predator for you.
Predator is the perfect word for this spider. I think this is the banded golden orb-web spider, and you can see that it's got its prey wrapped up in silk. Now, we have been sitting here a few minutes now, and I am absolutely amazed at what this female spider is doing. What she's doing, she's staying very, very still right now. But as soon as anything flies into that web, be it a fly or a dragonfly or even a small mosquito, she is running faster than light, grabbing it and quickly wrapping it in silk. And they're stuck. They're cocooned in the web. I've never seen this before, everyone. I've seen the prey wrapped up in silk, but I've never actually seen these spiders move so fast to catch something that's just got stuck in their web. It's absolutely incredible. So when we talk about predators, people often think leopards, lions, hyena, wild dog, but actually this spider that we're looking at right now, and that's the female, is also an incredible predator. Look at all the cocoons she's got wrapped. She's got her breakfast, lunch and dinner for the next few days. She's beautiful. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm saying it on a daily basis now, but she really is. She's slightly different from the other ones we see. She's orange in colour. See, she's moving. She's moving. Where's she going? Wow. Kieran, you are 4 years old and you are asking about the Easter Bunny. I haven't seen the Easter Bunny, I'm afraid, Kieran, but I can try and find you something similar, known as a scrub hare. How about I try and do that for you, Kieran? Would you like that? But I haven't seen an Easter Bunny, I'm afraid. I would love to. And let's hope this spider doesn't catch it and wrap it in silk, because it seems to be doing that with everything else. But I will try and find a scrub hare just for you, Kieran. So keep watching and wish me luck. Hopefully I will be able to do it. And can you see how she's gone back to that center mark again, right in the middle of the web? Kai, you're 11 years old and you're from Virginia. You are asking, what do these spiders eat? Sorry, Natalie, I didn't get that. What do they eat? They eat insects, anything really that flies into their web. I think this female would even try and wrap me up in silk if I walked into the web. No, not really, but any insect that flies into this web, the spider will eat. She also eats the males of her own species, everyone. She also eats the males of her own kind. Can you believe that? Any potential boyfriend that comes to this female and asks to be her boyfriend, she will eat him. Yes. She is the ultimate predator. So she will eat flies, butterflies, dragonflies, antlions, moths, anything that gets stuck in this web. And the web is so strong that if small birds fly into it, they can also get stuck sometimes. That's how strong the silk is that is produced by these spiders. They can withstand a lot. Liena, you're 4 years old and you're asking how does a web carry the weight of a spider? Well, she's probably not that heavy, to be honest. She's probably very, very light, but the web is so, so strong. It's made from silk that she produces, and I'm wondering if Davi can give you a closer look of her spinnerets. She's got a hole right at the end of her abdomen, and it looks like a belly button, really, but it's not. This is where the silk comes out, and she pulls it out with her legs, and then of course she weaves it to create this beautiful web that actually glows golden in the sun. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's where the name golden orb web spider comes from. She releases pigment into the silk and it makes it golden. So the web is very, very strong. It can carry the weight of herself and many, many other insects that she wants to eat. I'm not sure she needs to eat much more. She's got a whole buffet in front of her here. So, we're going to bumble now and let this female enjoy her dinner, see what else we can find. And as we do that, we are going to send you across to Rowan, who of course has a different kind of predator for you.
Okay, so we also found an orb web spider here hanging, but as you can see, its web has been broken. And actually quite funny, we were discussing this a little bit earlier, saying how being up first in camp and walking down from your room to the lodge, how often you walk through spider webs. And we were just envisioning the unlucky lion that had to walk through the spider web. And I wish we could have been here to see its face. But yeah, they don't seem too phased by it now, and the spider will just have to rebuild. It's a shame, it will probably cost her a lot of energy to try build that nest again, or the web. But anyway. So we've seen a little bit of movement, but too much. And as you can see with that little white male, his stomach is very full, and he's breathing very quickly, trying to digest last night's dinner. And in all honesty, it does not smell very nice where we are now. If I can just put that out there. Whew. I think one or two of them might be farting every now and then. So how we found these, funny enough, is we have Bruce, the pilot, that was flying around this morning, patrolling over these areas, and he just checked a little bit west and south from where we saw the leftovers of the wildebeest, and then he managed to spot them from the air. So he sent through a photo of them walking and just said, okay, so this is about 200 meters west of this position and southeast of this position. And then Marcel and I came here a little bit earlier to try find them, and luckily we managed to find them by their tummies being so white in the grass. Otherwise they blend in rather well, as you can see. Actually, it doesn't look like they blend in that well now, but as you can imagine, I mean, the grass here is so long that they do disappear. So we have 14 of the Birmingham Pride around us at the moment. So Owen has asked us a question all the way from Botswana, asking how much time do lions spend sleeping? And so they estimate it to be about 20 hours. But then again, it depends a lot on the temperature of the day, what's happening, are they hunting something? Do they need to eat? So estimation about 20 hours. I can tell you then that 4 hours they're going to be very, very, very active. But yeah, they're not really the most energetic animals out here in the bush. And I don't think they're going to wake up and move anytime soon, though, if I have to be honest. I mean, their bellies are full. They are comfortable. The clouds are blocking the sun, so it's not really too hot. There's really just no need for them to move too much now. I think we might be looking at sleeping lions for the whole afternoon. Okay, so thank you, kiddies, for joining us this will be the end of the kids show. You guys are still more than welcome to watch, but all the other viewers, please feel free to engage with us, comment, ask any questions that you might have. And thank you, kids, for being the good luck charm every single time we go looking for the Birmingham Pride. This really takes away from the majesty of a lion. Actually, even his father is lying down exactly the way he is. His father is just a little bit further behind a tree there. You can almost just see a piece of his mane. So that would be the one Rasmal, and the other Rasmal is even further behind him, facing the other direction. They're quite well camouflaged here in the bush. So Lisa and Brad from Scotland has asked, how often do lions feed? There, again, there's no strict rule for it. It's not like 6:30 is dinner time for them. They are opportunistic hunters. So even now when they look so full, if a zebra had to walk here or a buffalo and it came too close, they would go into stalk mode and try their best to eat it. However, they can probably go for maybe 7 to 10 days maximum without food. I think this one might be having a hairball. See a lot of flies on her cheek as well. She needs a dentist. So Satine in France has asked, how far am I from the lions right now? So the one that the camera is focused on, she's probably about 5 meters. Yeah, rather close. We were a little bit closer to a lioness when we got here because we parked, and then one of the lionesses decided to walk around the vehicle, do her business on the other side, which was maybe about 3 meters away. And then she went and laid down just in front of us, but now quite far away. So yeah, definitely not far at all. But as you can see, me talking earlier when the vehicle was moving, they are just so used to us, so habituated. Okay, so looks like she cleared her throat now. Stop licking. So for now, we're going to send you back to James, who's got a magnificent skyline.
We've got a beautiful skyline there and the Drakensberg Mountains of South Africa, and most people in South Africa associate the Drakensberg, of course, with Natal or the Free State, KwaZulu-Natal or the Free State, but in actual fact they stretch all the way up here into the northeastern parts of the country, southern Limpopo and northern Mpumalanga, and they stretch more than 1,000 kilometers down the escarpment of this magnificent country. I always like to stop and just consider slightly. Those of you who live in Cape Town talk a lot about your mountain and how wonderful your mountain is, etc., etc. Believe it or not, the mountains you're looking at right now, the ones that rise above Hoedspruit, are even higher than your mountain. And so if you ever get tired of the driving southeast wind in the summer and the sideways northwest rain in the winter, you could come and live beneath a mountain up here in the Lowveld of South Africa, and it's even higher than the one down there in the Cape of Storms. That's just a little plug for the Lowveld. We have found no evidence of mammal life since last you saw us, and so we shall continue our search. And we shall be very grateful that we are not going to be rained upon, I don't think, at all this afternoon. And there it is. Nathan, you're 3 years old and you are living in Texas and wondering if there are dinosaurs here. Nathan, there are no dinosaurs here. Unfortunately, dinosaurs don't exist anywhere in the world anymore, and they haven't done for some time. They haven't lived for as long as I've been alive, for as long as your parents have been alive, in fact, for as long as anyone alive has been alive. They've unfortunately been extinct, that means not alive anymore, for about 100 million years, I think, something like that. It's a long, long time since the last dinosaur walked on the earth. I'm sure there were dinosaurs here at one stage, but there aren't anymore. Someone asked me once, she was from Durban in KwaZulu-Natal, and she said to me, she tapped me on the shoulder lightly. She was much older than Nathan is, and she said, do you still get woolly mammoths here? And I said to her, not for some time, no. And then we're going to do one more thing while we're parked over here, and that, Owen, is... Oh, it's a stick, isn't it? I thought it was a giraffe. No, it's a pole. Never mind. Never mind, never mind, never mind. Let's carry on. So excited. What was that? Sorry, Natalie, I didn't get that. Oh. If you would like to, everybody, you can subscribe to our WildEarth YouTube channel. You're watching it now. Just click on the little subscribe button, and then when we go live, it'll go bing, 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 and let you know when we are going live. So you can do that. And also, of course, don't forget you can ask us questions, send us comments, insults, jokes throughout the course of the afternoon using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, otherwise the YouTube chat stream, otherwise the Twitch chat stream. I'm not sure if the kids' questions email is being monitored anymore, but I think rather just go for those other three options. Oh, it is being monitored, so you can send it to that, to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv if you so desire. Try and keep your questions sort of relatively relevant to what we're seeing, unless we aren't seeing anything. And then general wildlife questions, conservation questions, Africa questions, go for it. Even just discussion points. They don't have to be something you don't know about. They be something you want to discuss or something you feel deeply about. We're now on the western boundary. We're going to just go a little bit further down to where we saw those buffalo this morning and see if perhaps that herd didn't cross over. I don't think it did, though. So in the meantime, we are going to go back up north to where the Birmingham Pride, I'm assuming it's the Birmingham Pride, is sitting with Rowan.
So, we'll focus now on 3 lions. It's 1 lioness and 2 youngsters. And it seems the lioness is using the 1 cub as a pillow, and that cub is using the other cub as a pillow. And the other cub is just being irritated by flies. So she's definitely not winning at life right now. But imagine how warm it must be, all the body heat going in there. There are so many flies around these lions at the moment. Seems like they are just grimming and bearing it. Not too much they can do about it either. Every now and then one just rolls around and then carries on sleeping. But yeah, I think this is basically them for the rest of the afternoon. Those bellies are very full. I must say, quite a magical experience to be sitting here with 14 apex predators. Or soon to be apex predators for 8 of them, the 8 youngsters. Oh, see a little white one is being irritated by a fly. Scratch his face a little bit. See the tummy going up and down, up and down, up and down, very quickly. So some of that's to do with the heat, but majority of that is to do with the wildebeest that they ate last night. The wildebeest that was being finished off by the 3 hyenas that we found this morning. So it's funny to watch male animals. So Brian's asked a very interesting question, asking if there's prides that are only made up of females. So Brian, I can imagine that there are. Let's be honest, the Birmingham Pride only really incorporates the females and the youngsters. So of that, 3 youngsters are males and the rest are all females. The 2 Ross males, they are not considered part of the Birmingham Pride. Rather, they came from a natal pride called the Ross Pride, and they are only territorial over the Birmingham Pride now. So if these females had to only give birth to 8 females, the whole Birmingham Pride would have been only females right now. Hope that answers your question, Brian. That looks comfortable, eh? She does not look like that she ate that much. See, her ribs are sticking out a little bit. Doesn't look hungry, but doesn't look like she had the lion's share of the meal like everyone else here. So of course, the paw up like that, exposing the stomach, it's just for them to cool down a little bit. So Archie has asked, what is the largest cat I've seen? And a tiger. I'd say a tiger is bigger than a male lion. Stunning cats. I went to India last year, April, with a friend of mine, Yapi, who also works here. And we just went on 9 days of safari. And our biggest thing was to see tigers. And we were lucky enough to see 23 different tigers during our stay in India. We didn't really go for the whole cultural experience. We only wanted to do safari. It's funny when I do this for a living and then I go on holiday and I still go on safari. But absolute magical place to visit. Definitely worth a go. But I would say a tiger is bigger than a lion. Although saying that, yeah, we used to have some massive male lions on this property. I think before the Ross males took over, it was the giraffe males that were territorial over the Birmingham Pride, and before them we had the Pal 1 males on the property on andBeyond Ngala. Those are actually the first male lions that I got to see on andBeyond Ngala, and would most probably be forever my favorite big male lions that I've ever seen. The 3 Pal 1 brothers. Oh wow, there were 9 males. Imagine seeing all of them together. I think there's a photo of that. Yeah, a force to be reckoned with. So Moonbeam has asked, while all the lions are resting, is there one keeping a lookout? So Moonbeam, they might look like they are fast asleep, but you would see their ears are twitching, their sense of smell still works, they're just not looking around. But I think out here in the wild, they count just as much on their sense of smell and hearing as they do on their eyesight, maybe even a little bit more. So even though they look fast asleep, they are completely aware of everything that's going on around them. And so no one really needs to be on lookout. And there are 14 of them here, and being the apex predator, yeah, I don't think they're in too much trouble. Good question, Moonbeam. Masa and I are on the lookout for them. See the one twitchy tail in the grass. Love to know what she's thinking about or dreaming about. So Darby's asked, wouldn't it help digestion more if lions had to walk? And absolutely, no, definitely it would. But they're not really out here to, lose weight or whatever. So for them, it doesn't really matter. They don't need to burn calories at all. They'll just sleep off their food. And during the day, being so hot, it's easier for them. They really need the energy later on at night when they're going to go hunting. It's not like humans that can walk to the fridge, quickly grab a bar of chocolate and you have this quick spike of energy. So for them, they'd rather sleep during the day, digest the food slowly, and then use majority of their energy at night. So later on, they'll go for a walk. Slowly rolling over. So of course, the one piece where she's lying is a little bit too hot. It's like a very hot day when you're lying in your bed and you don't have an air conditioner, then it helps to shift on the mattress to a cooler spot. So that's basically exactly what these lions do when they roll around like that. Just finding a nice and cooler spot. Natalie says it's like flipping the pillow over. And that is exactly it. So Natalie's at final control, whispering into my ear. Oh. This lioness lying in front of us has a new cut on her eye. So Mo from Abu Dhabi, who's only 12 years old, has asked, why are some white and why are some brown? So Mo, this is actually very special to us. We have 2 of only 3 wild white lions in the world. Emphasis on wild, that are here part of the Birmingham Pride. And what it is, it's a recessive gene that makes them white. So both mommy and daddy needs to have the recessive gene. So basically a form of leucism, and it made them white rather than tawny or brown. Lioness looks like she might have a bit of blood behind her ear as well. We were looking at her earlier, the one closest to us at the bottom. Oh, he's rolling around, very pink little nose. Think she might have gotten a smack in a scrap while they were feeding on the carcass. It often happens. Lions, when they feed, like they would have last night on that wildebeest, they often fight with each other, because once they kill the animal, all of them get involved and they bite each other, scratch each other. So often a big fight. Okay, so I think what we might do is leave them be, let them sleep. They're not going to wake up this afternoon. They'll sleep quite a bit into this night. So Marcel and I are going to make our way out of here, let the lions be, and then continue looking for other things. But for the time being, I'm going to send you back to Lauren.
We have a hippo pool party happening at Buffelshoek Dam. Hold on, let me get my binos out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Is that one in the distance? No, I think I do need to get my binos out before I go crazy and start imagining numbers of hippos. Davi, how many do you see? 4. Oh, lovely. Buffelshoek Dam is definitely big enough to hold more hippos than what we've actually been seeing. Yeah, I thought I could see 5. Ah, this is a bloat, everyone. We were actually talking about this last night around the fire, collective nouns for animals. And some of them are absolutely fantastic. Some of them really, really, really make me laugh. And I think bloat for hippos is one of the best. Dazzles for zebras is really not too bad. A cauldron of bats. But I do like a bloat of hippos. Now, you may notice when you look at the hippos, they're quite red sometimes, not just around their eyes and their ears, but also there'll be quite pinky red patches on their body as well. This is a really unique, incredible thing about hippos because they have very, very fine skin. There's a really fine layer of epidermis, and this makes them extremely sensitive to dehydration. So although it looks like their skin is very thick, yes, there's a big layer of blubber there, yummy blubber under the skin, but the actual skin itself is very, very fine. And they're said to be, well, the skin is said to be up to 7 times more sensitive to dehydration than any other mammal. So what are they going to do about that? They cannot go to the shops to buy sunscreen. They have to, of course, have their own in-house mechanism to protect themselves. And they do. So when it's really, really hot, not necessarily so much in winter, but in the summer out here, African summer gets incredibly hot, well over 45 degrees Celsius, 110 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. They need to protect their skin. And basically, they secrete their own sunscreen. And it comes out clear. It comes out from special glands on their skin. And once it sort of mixes with the air, it polymerizes and it turns red. And it stays on their skin. And essentially it acts as a sunscreen. So they make their own sunscreen. But not only that, it also is a really, really good antibiotic and antiseptic. So essentially, this chemical has actually been looked at in labs all across the world by scientists who are trying to figure out what it is about this chemical that makes it so good and so unique, and we're trying to replicate it. And it's got a name. The general name for the fluid is called hipposudoric acid. Essentially their own sun cream. And I think that's just so incredible that they're... Samar, you're in Mexico. Hola! Where do they go when the water dries up? They will have to find another water body, I'm afraid. Hippos are truly amphibious. They rely on the water. They really can't survive without it for so many reasons. And when this dam dries up, although I'm really not sure what's going to happen this year. This is the fullest this dam has been in many, many years. I think 7 or 8 years. So it may take longer to dry up than normal. But there are other water bodies around here that stay full throughout winter. So they will need to go in search of finding another water body, I'm afraid. And sometimes the hippos will become so tightly packed in one water body that there's too many. There's too many for that environment. And there ends up being a lot of aggression, a lot of fights, sometimes deaths of youngsters. So generally speaking, they're quite happy in this dam. It's large, it's wide, there's enough space for them all. But once this dam starts to shrink and the volume of water decreases, then that will put a lot more pressure on the hippos themselves. But they will definitely have to find another dam. Austin? Autumn. What a beautiful name, Autumn. You are 7 and you're from the USA. You're asking, will the animals have plenty of food to last them through winter because it's been such a good summer? That is a really, really good question because we're not entirely sure what this winter is going to bring. I actually really, really don't know what to expect this year, but I am guessing yes, because we've had so much rain, so much more than we usually get. All the dams are bursting at the seams. The vegetation is so thick. I know people that have been in the bush for many, many years and they have never seen it this thick because it's so lush, there's so much water, there's so much vegetation that I think, Autumn, you are right. I think the winter may not be as harsh as it has been in the past. I think the dams will take a very long time to lose their water. They may empty in the sort of very, very heart of winter. But I think it'll take a long time to get there. They won't dry out as quickly as normal, and I think there'll be lots of vegetation around. Great question, Autumn. I think you're right. Winter may actually be not so harsh on all the animals around here. It's a very stressful time for predators, prey, birds, reptiles. Winter is not easy. But I'm very excited. Well, not so excited for the cold temperatures, everyone, but very excited to see what winter will bring this year. I think it'll be a real learning experience for all of us because it's not been this sort of full or this green in so many years. But last winter was harsh. Last year was harsh on all the animals. Maddie, Liz, and many of you are actually asking how long can a hippo hold its breath? Well, on average, an adult hippo can hold its breath between 5 to 6 minutes, and that's much longer than humans. They are adapted for the water, and normally when they do hold...
Are there any purposes?
I apologise, everyone. That's my game drive radio. I'm just going to turn it down. Shush now. So yes, 5 to 6 minutes, longer than a human. And essentially, they just go completely inactive under the water. They don't waste any energy. They're really, really good free divers, if you like, but they are air breathers. So after around 5 to 6 minutes, they must come up to breathe air. Now, this is adults. Of course, the youngsters take a while to be able to hold their breath that long. They definitely cannot last 6 minutes. They've got to learn how to hold their breath, just as we would if we were sort of learning how to free dive, I guess. The youngsters are only said to hold their breath about 40 seconds when they're very, very young. And after around 2 months old, that changes and they start to get better and better at holding their breath. But hippos mate in the water, and the male can sometimes put his whole body weight on top of the female and push her under, which makes life very dangerous. So she absolutely must be able to hold her breath. What a wonderful afternoon at Buffelshoek Dam, and it appears like Mr. Hendry has came across some warthogs.
Yes, we had come across some hogs, and the hogs have now gone behind a bush. And I am struggling very much not to slam my fists onto the dashboard of this aging and leaking old Land Rover. Not backward. What a sighting, hey? Phew! There it is, I can see it. Owen, zoom in. No, zoom in. Go slightly to the right and down. There, we've got an ear and a bottom. What a sighting of a warthog. Gee whiz. Just amazing. Ah! Gets even better. Just spectacular. He had a friend who is even better hidden than he is. Let's sneak slowly forward. Now, many of you might be quite surprised by this because you would have travelled to our national parks in South Africa and found these things grazing on the lawns of the lodges and camps you've stayed in. For some reason, here at Djuma, they are utterly terrified of human beings. I've been driving around this place for the last 4 and a bit years. Almost 5 years now. And I think I can count on one hand the number of good warthog sightings I've had. Yes, I mean, Owen lives in Hoedspruit when he's not on lockdown. And he has them living outside his front gate in town. So why the Djuma warthogs are such ninnies is something of a mystery. We are now heading towards a waterhole called Treehouse Waterhole. Connor, you're wondering about the most energetic animal in the bush. So what is the animal that spends the most time knocking about, moving? Wild dogs, when they move, are extremely energetic, but they do spend a long time sleeping, so it's probably not them. The animal that sleeps the least is probably a giraffe. So although they look like they're moving in slow motion all the time, they never actually sleep, or they very seldom sleep. So I guess it must be a giraffe, which sounds like a silly answer given how slowly they move. When they are, maybe we should include things like squirrels, which run around a great deal looking for food. They sleep at night, but they do move around a lot. What else? Yeah, maybe squirrels. But technically speaking, it's probably giraffe. Louise says dwarf mongoose. No, Louise, it's definitely not dwarf mongoose. Dwarf mongoose are absolutely... Well, I mean, they're pretty energetic when they're awake, but they sleep as much as David Eastaugh sleeps. I mean, they only get up at about 7 o'clock in the morning and they go to bed at about 6. So they spend a very long time in their burrows, either watching Netflix or sleeping. That was a joke. They don't really watch Netflix, in case you're wondering. They only have SABC. Yes, squirrels, as I was saying, and I agree with you. Hello, Milan. You've spoken to us often, every afternoon, so it's lovely to hear from you again. We'll just stop here and look at the terrapins as they disappear into the water in the blinding light of the sun. Milan, warthogs run with their tails in the air because it's a way of signalling to other warthogs where they are. Because they are short and they have to run through long grass, the tails in the air help them to signal to the others as to where they are. Now that is a terrapin. It is most likely a serrated hinged terrapin. They are the terrapins you'd expect to find in a large water body like this. But it is impossible to tell whether it has a serrated or hinged shell at this stage because, well, all I can see are two eyes. Are those eyes? Nostrils? Nose?
If it is a terrapin.
It's definitely a terrapin. They are definitely terrapins. I get out of the car and go towards them. Oh, that's definitely not a terrapin, that's a mud. That's a mud. There are some terrapins. Zoom in there. Oh, and I think you've got them there. For sure that is a terrapin. Its eyes are looking at us. Kate, monkeys are quite energetic, yeah. But things like baboons, for example, which are very similar to monkeys, don't actually spend a huge amount of time looking for food. And I read about this in the most wonderful book called A Primate's Memoir by a Stanford University professor called Robert Sapolsky. And those of you who have been watching a long time know that I obsess about this fellow because I think he's so good. And he makes the point that baboons in a rich savanna environment, probably East Africa is slightly richer than here because the soil's a bit richer, so they probably don't have to forage quite as hard as they do here. But they only forage for about 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours a day, and the rest of the time they spend being social and affirming social bonds, trying to get one up on rivals, forming little gangs to overthrow rivals, mating, that sort of stuff. So while monkeys definitely spend a lot of time foraging, I suspect that they also spend a good deal of time sitting about being political, as far as monkeys are able to. Anything else here that you can see of note? We almost saw a lapwing. Gosh, that is exciting. Yeah. Treehouse Dam continues to underperform. We have had some wonderful sightings here, but of late it has been 1 or 2 terrapins and a couple of lapwings. Lauren is on an insect mission and she's got a predatory one now.
I have a dragonfly. There's actually a lot of them, and you won't believe it. One just landed on my hand, but it then flew off again, sadly. So here be the dragons. One of my favorite insects out here. I actually have many, but I have to say dragonflies are definitely one of them. And I think what they're doing here, there's many of them, they're surrounding us. I think they're doing what I also spoke about this morning, same as butterflies, mud puddling. Is when they do land on the ground, they're not designed for walking. All the legs are right at the front end of the body, all 6 of them. And that rear end of the body, there's nothing to stabilize it. So they can't walk. There's no way that animals like this can walk. They're designed for perching or clasping onto vegetation. So I think when they land on the ground like this, they are trying to also collect some sort of nutrients or salts or minerals from the ground below. You always find them around like this at the edge of dams. Now, adults actually only live for a few weeks. Some species live a lot longer, a few months, but rarely do you find an adult dragonfly that lives longer than a year. They have short life cycles as adults, quite similar to butterflies in that respect. Beautiful, beautiful animals. When you're able to get really close to one, you can really see the features, the huge bulbous eyes, compound eyes. They're made up of lots and lots of little lenses together to give a much more accurate sort of field of vision. A lot of them are landing on the dung as well. Have you noticed that, Davy? I'm wondering if there's some sort of attraction to the elephant dung. Maybe they gain some amino acids or salts specifically from the dung. I've not moved a muscle in the past 5 minutes hoping one would land on me again, but it's not happened. I'm very sad. When a dragonfly really, really wants to fly or wants to hunt, they can actually reach top speeds. For an insect at least, they can reach 30 miles per hour. Rachel S., you're asking, why do I like them so much? What a question. I think they're just very incredible insects. They're very old. They belong to a group called Odonata, which means the toothed ones. And they're over 300 million years old. So they're prehistoric almost. And they've changed very little over time. And what that tells you, Rachel, is that they're very good at what they do. Over the sort of course of time, a lot of species, organisms evolve. But those that say very similar in terms of body design and shape, their biology, means that they're very successful. I love that they have a completely different juvenile phase, which is called the nymph phase, to the adult phase. I love how skilled they are at hunting. They're really great predators. They can catch their prey in the air. And I love their eyes. They have huge eyes in comparison to the size of their heads, and they can see in all different directions. They're essentially built from 30,000, yes, 30,000 highly sensitive pixel-like units. So their vision must be so accurate. I often wonder what it must be like to see the world through a pair of dragonfly eyes. And of course, they can see in a 360-degree vision. You can see all the way around. Not only that, they can see all sorts of light that we can, including UV light. They're just epic, Rachel. That's the hippo. Adam, you're in Cape Town right now, and you are asking about the name Dragonfly. I think essentially, from what I know, I could be wrong, and anyone who knows this is welcome to tell me I'm wrong, but I do believe they are predators that when they are in their nymph phase, which is the juvenile phase, they breathe through their anus. And yes, I know that sounds very bizarre, and they actually use their rectum for jet propulsion. So when you look at them, they're breathing in through their anus and sort of breathing out through their anus, causing, well, jet propulsion that helps them move, all coming from their bottom. And essentially, this looks like they're breathing fire, but is underwater, if that makes sense, Adam. So I believe that's where the name dragonflies come from. They're obviously flyers, and because of this unusual breathing technique and very strange mouth parts, they are called dragonflies. Yes, very bizarre. I bet you'll never ask that question again, Adam. Anus breathing dragonflies. There we go. So we're going to bumble on, and I believe that James has a yellow bird for you.
Just listen to him. Isn't that haunting? This is the purest note that you'll hear out here. And that is the grey-headed bushshrike, in Afrikaans known as the spookvoël. Please excuse my pronunciation. Spookvoël, which means the ghost bird, because he makes that ghostly, pure whistle. Isn't he lovely? Let's see if he calls again. He's still there, but oh, you got him. Well done. Stunning creature. Now, you often hear this bird, but you don't often see him like this. And no, I don't think it's a mating call as so much as it's a territorial call. They don't really make, I suppose, I mean, if you define a mating call as the call they make in order to attract a mate, it could be, but I think it's much more a territorial call. Cleaning his beak. Anthony, you want to know why this is a... Say that again, Natalie, come on. Natalie, who's directing tonight, spent a lot of time in the United States, so she didn't do much Afrikaans. And she said, Anthony just asked the question, what is a spookvoël? Anthony, a spookvoël, or spookvoël, is a ghost bird, and it's called a ghost bird because it makes that sound, which makes it sound a little bit like a ghost. I think we've lost him. There's another one. Another one just flew up there. Let me just drive forward slightly. No, I think it was another one. Maybe it was a mating call. Yeah, I think same species. Also a tawny flanked prinier in there, which I can hear. That is... can we see it? No. Alrighty, let's continue. What I have here on the dashboard... Ooh, and there's the Lovely, lovely call of the southern boo-boo as well. That's the tawny flank prinier you can hear. Marcella, you're an extremely sophisticated 2-year-old and wondering what those ghost birds eat. They are predators, basically, and they are like most birds that eat meat. They'll eat anything they can overpower. So usually it's insects and that sort of thing, like grasshoppers, big grasshoppers. But sometimes it'll be other birds, small birds, and if it can find a nest that's got baby birds in it, it'll eat those. So basically anything that it can find. So while you listen to the tawny flank prinier, this is a black monkey orange. It is neither black, and nor have I seen monkeys eat them, but I'm pretty sure that they do. And it's actually quite a nice fruit out here. I'm just going to try and break it open. I don't know. Have you got a knife? Have you, Owen? Rather than hammer it open and smack myself. When it's ripe, and this one is not ripe, you can eat the flesh. It doesn't taste of much, but if you sort of mix it up with a bit of honey, it makes quite a nice pudding. And so I presume, of course, you can get some honey, which during lockdown is becoming increasingly difficult, so we may just have to have it as it is, green and unripe. There we go. But it really doesn't taste of anything that is delicious. And you see this fruit, especially when they're ripe, they turn like sort of quite a nice orange colour. You think, gosh, that must be a delicious fruit to eat. And it really isn't. Found 2 absolutely amazingly delicious things to eat in the Kalahari. Those being the Gemsbok cucumber and the Tama melon. Now, I've always heard that Tama melons are very bitter, but because I suspect because they've had so much rain this year, the Tama melon crop is very good, and they are delicious things. If you ever go to the Kalahari and find yourself in need of food and water, the Tama melon is a good option. We shall hand this over to the bush, and maybe in a few years' time there'll be a Strychnos madagascarensis tree growing over there. Not so, Owen? Yeah. Yes, exactly. There we are. Kids, please don't ever use a knife like you've seen me use a knife. You will end up with numerous scars on your hand. Rowan has left his lines and is now tracking something which is most impressive. If I had lines, I'm not sure I'd have had the courage to leave them.
So we have left the lines. They were still very, very sleepy. And now, Marcel and I are actually just cruising around to see whatever else we can find. So while we do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my day. Not. Okay. So, I think while we're still looking for things, before I tell you about my day, I'm going to send you back to James quickly.
Sorry about that, we'll just fix up his sink there and then we'll go back and find out what he's tracking. Oh, nice birds, 2 nice birds. Chagra, black crown chagra in the spike thorn. To the right of that. And out, to the right, yeah, zoom. Zoom. There's a chintz what is that? There's the chagras on the right. Oh, and a chin... Mr. Chinspot Batter sitting as if butter wouldn't melt.
Two of them.
Yeah, so there's a Chinspot Batters on the left and the black crowned chagra on the right. The black crowned chagra also has a gorgeous call. And there's the... Is he on a nest? I wonder if he's not on a little nest. His wife has gone either to play bridge or do some last minute Easter egg shopping, and he has been left to sit on the eggies, which will hopefully not become some predator's Easter fare. Jenna, there are over 900 species of bird that you can see in South Africa. I have not seen them all. Yes, there's a little cisticola. In fact, I think that's a nediki. No, it's probably a rattling cisticola. No, I think that's a nediki. That's really cool. So that's a bird that goes tick, 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 tick. That's really well spotted. And there was a firefinch that went in there too.
In the same tree?
Yeah, same tree. So while Owen looks for him, this area, I suspect the total bird list for the Djuma area is probably around 300. Now that includes many, many vagrants, at least 50 vagrants which are birds that come in once or twice and then disappear again. Yeah, I can't see the little firefinches are beautiful, but they're very hard to see. Try in the middle of that thorn bush there.
On the right?
Yeah, that one, yeah. I think he went in there. Gosh, there's a rather vicious tree. There we go, waxbill. Wax below. Yes. And I think that tree is a spiny gardenia. Not something you want to run through. It will arrest your momentum quite quickly. That's Mrs. Blue Waxbelow. Oh, they are beautiful. Aren't they lovely? In East Africa, they have very similar birds, and they're called the blue cordon bleu. I think they're magnificent things. But the cordon bleu has got a little purple ear. Little red ear. That's them calling beep beep, beep beep. That's very nice. And our Batiste is still sitting on his eggy. He's either just smoked something he shouldn't have, or he's been on the sauce. Because he looks very confused by life, and like the world is passing him by at a speed that he wasn't really expecting. Have you been on the sauce? Have you cleaned out the liquor cabinet while your wife is away? Yes, he's starting to look very guilty. I think that's exactly what happened. He poured himself an Easter cocktail because he's not at work today. Samar in Mexico, the rarest bird that I have ever seen. Oh, I don't know. Let me think. That's really difficult to answer. I don't know. Samar, I really couldn't tell you what the rarest bird I've ever seen is. I think the rarest bird that we see here is probably the... Oh, that's the nediki. Well spotted. I think the rarest bird that we see here is probably the saddle-billed stork. It's the least common bird. I'm not laughing at the question, I'm laughing at the name. Spirited Mama. Hello, Spirited Mama. You want to know why it is that the female Batiste has gone off and left her husband looking after the eggies. This is very common with the birds, that both parents will incubate the eggs. So Spirited Mama, it's not that she doesn't incubate them, she just happens to be out foraging right now, going to find things to eat, and she'll come and swap over with him and he'll go off and do the same. There are many, many, many birds that do that. Bird daddies in general vastly show up their mammal counterparts. I don't think most of them drink as heavily as this guy though. Then on the road in front of us, Owen, we have got a little collection of dwarf mangusta. There they are. They've just popped out because we're sitting still. Now can you hear that other call, that krrr, krrr? It's obviously stopped now. That's the other call of the white-browed scrub robin there, and there's its normal call. There we go. Beautiful. Oh, sorry, I was asked to warn people if I was going to whistle again, because apparently some people wear headphones and when I whistle it drills a hole in their brains. I'm sorry about that. I'll warn you next time. Alright, we're going to stare at the sky for a bit, maybe head off to another waterhole. You're going to go back to Rowan, who is still looking around, I think.
So Marcel and I are still just cruising around, and what I wanted to do was tell you about my day. Quite a busy day, interesting day. We, so of course, did morning safari with all of you this morning, and then came back to the lodge, cooked breakfast, and then a little bit later on I got a call from Yapi, who's the assistant head ranger, also the guy that traveled to India with me, and he's busy doing training with Pete, our new training ranger. And Yapi starts to call, well, hi, how are you? Fine, thanks. Like, oh, do you mind, can I ask you a massive favor? I'm like, oh, Yapi, no, go ahead, no problem at all. And it turns out they got 2 flat tires. So it was a rather bit embarrassing for Pete, because part of being a trainee is the vehicle is your responsibility. So I had to load an extra spare tire, took it to Yapi. And there we go, we changed the tire quick. I mean, we all trained for it. Then we got talking about some of our trainers for andBeyond, because apparently the RP got a message from one saying, oh no, you guys are doing well there at andBeyond Ngala, you know, maybe this is like tiny bits of feedback. And today was actually the first time that I thought about my trainers watching me on the live show. So Brian Olver, Seth Forster, Graham Verkale, pretty much the gurus of andBeyond training. Hi guys, hope you're enjoying what we're doing. But yeah, so it was actually quite nice to chat to Pete. So Pete's only been here for about 3 weeks, but one thing we all have in common is this Nkwazi training. And James Henry, would have gone through exactly the same thing. So it doesn't matter whether you are here for 10 years or 10 weeks, you always have something in common with the other person. It made me stress a little bit knowing that my 3 trainers are watching me on game drive, so I'm very specific about trying not to do anything wrong. Luckily they didn't see me drive away from the lions because it was very, very thick there. I was in low range though. So Anke, who's only 12 years old, has asked, what do I need to study to become a game ranger? Anke, nothing at all. You need a keen interest, and it's something I had since the age of 7. But there's no need for you to have a degree at all. So what you get in South Africa is FAGASA. That's short for Field Guides Association of Southern Africa, or South Africa, sorry. And they do a lot of the training. So they do a level 1, level 2, level 3, depending on your years of experience. And then Trails Guide, Dangerous Game, SKS, things like that. So you can specialize more and more and more on these sort of things. But you don't actually need a degree. If you'd like to know what I studied, I did environmental geographical sciences. Although I can imagine zoology would be a rather nice degree to have for this. There was a stage in my life where I wanted to do zoology and marine biology. Okay, if you're thinking of becoming a game ranger, it's a lovely job. It's stunning. It is absolutely fantastic. Every single morning you drive out and you never know what to expect. Basically, every single drive is a surprise for us. It'd be nice if we got a little surprise of any animal. Josh has asked us who and how maintains the road on the reserve. So Josh is only 10 and he's from London. A very interesting question. I would have never thought about asking that. But Josh, at the moment we do it. Not the Rangers, but andBeyond covers that. It's a baboon in the road, talking about maintenance. Just see the head flipping up. So often what we have is a tractor driving around, especially after very heavy rainfall. Might be coming our way soon, this baboon. But then he drags a tire behind him, and that's how we grade it. And then sometimes they've got a rake pulling behind them. Oh no, he's lying down. Just to cut the grass, because after rainy season, the grass here is so long that all the grass seeds will flick over the vehicle's bonnet into our eyes. So we have a reserve manager on the property. His name is Aaron Jones, and he is the guy who takes care of basically all the maintenance on the reserve. So he goes around and sees what needs work, and roads would fall underneath him as well. I'm going to try and get a little bit closer to this baboon. Strange, shouldn't be alone. There should be a whole troop here. Okay, so while we go closer, I'm going to send you to Lauren, who's got a beautiful bird with a very long tail.
A very long tail indeed. We have a magpie shrike. Not a magpie, the same as the sort of European UK magpie. This is a magpie shrike, named after the coloration, black and white. Are you sure that's not true there, Darby? I think I'm seeing things, everyone. And off we go. We have a song in the UK about magpies. We take it very seriously. Please let me know if you have this song anywhere else in the world, wherever you may be. Well, it's not a song. I suppose it's a rhyme. You count your magpies, and then you say 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for girl, 4 for boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret that must never be told, 8 for a wish, 9 for a kiss, 10 for a bird that you shouldn't miss. Magpie! But I don't think it applies out here to the magpie shrikes. But since I don't have anything else, that was one for sorrow. Oh dear. If you still have it, there's definitely another one flying around here somewhere. Ah, and off we go. Bye, Mr. Magpie Shrike. There was definitely 2 there, so that is 2 for joy, everyone. Daniel, that is a fantastic question. You are in Pretoria, and that is a really, really good question. Not all male birds will be the most beautiful. It depends on their social structure. So when you have birds that are monogamous, your raptors and many other birds are said to be monogamous. So they find a mate and they mate for life, or at least for the breeding season. And in that case, you won't find that the males are more brightly colored or more beautiful or have the best feathers or the loudest calls, because they don't need to. They find their lady friend and they hook up for life. So they really don't need to advertise themselves too much. And when it comes to those that are not monogamous, which is said to be a mere 10%, they say that over 90% of birds are supposed to be monogamous, but I'll come to that. And therefore the other 10% are polygamous. And therefore the males need to attract the ladies. They need to say, hey ladies, look at me. And they need to be loud and proud and bright and vibrant so that the ladies, oh look at that. So the ladies will of course look and think, oh, hello there, I choose you. Essentially, they need to advertise themselves in any way that they can. So that's why the males are always said to be the most beautiful. But that's only in the species that are polygamous. Now, there's many studies on monogamous birds and monogamous fish, actually, where the clutch of eggs that's produced by the monogamous pair is tested DNA-wise, and it does not appear to be, well, they don't have the same DNA as the father. Now what does that mean, everyone? That means that the mother, the female, has obviously mated outside of the monogamous relationship, and therefore, is it monogamous? I think not. You will find in birds and in fish, there's lots of evidence nowadays of the monogamous pair, extra pair copulations going on. When the female isn't looking, the male sneaks off and does his thing, and then vice versa. When the male's not looking, the female sneaks off and does her thing. Is this from evolution? I don't know. Is it because the female always thinks maybe she can get better genes for her offspring? I don't know. Is it pleasure? I also don't know. But more and more evidence in science is coming up, especially in fish. You do get monogamous pairs in fish, especially tropical reef fish like your butterfly fish. They will form a pair bond and they stay with one another. They feed together, they rest together, they mate together, they protect one another, and it's very, very sweet. Monogamous pairs are said to be, well, there's an advantage that you really don't have to search for a mate. You don't have to waste any energy advertising or developing any sort of additional feathers or scales or colorations to attract attention, because you've got your mate for life, so you can just enjoy them. So there's pros and cons to both social structures, but that is essentially why males will be more attractive in those non-monogamous pairs. Good question, though, Daniel. Okay, as we drive into this very, very scenic sunset, we're going to send you back across James for
We're on our way towards the hyena den. If you have joined us for the first time, Djuma has an active hyena den where the matriarch, whose name is Ribbon, yes, Ribbon, is looking after two tiny cubs who we've seen twice. And we're now very much hoping to see them again, because it must be around about time that they'll start coming out to play. They're very tiny still, and so they haven't been spending any time out of the den. Well, very limited time out of the den. And we go there every morning and every evening, say hello to Ribbon, who shows us an ear. Sometimes she yawns at us, and then that's all we've really seen, but for those two times. So we're going to go off now and see if we can't find those cubs. it'll be very special to see them. And it's going to get dark relatively early because there's still quite a lot of thick cloud overhead. So we just want to maximize some time there. We do have an infrared light with us, so we can stay a little bit after dark, well, as it falls dark, and then we'll leave. Just a quick view of some impalas. And if you look at impalas regularly, there on the right left owns a probably better example. If you look at impala regularly, you'll notice that their necks are starting to thicken. And so the increase in testosterone is having the same effect on their bodies as it might on a bodybuilder. Their muscles are getting bigger. Their testicles are dropping down. They're normally relatively in. That's a beautiful picture, thank you. I mean, your one opportunity at fame, and that's what you choose to do. It's quite something. It's quite a nice picture behind the tree there. So when they're not about to go into the rut, their testicles are much higher up and almost internal. As they go into the rut, so they drop down and swell in preparation for the, well, I think the very dangerous period that they're going through. I imagine they're probably quite excited by it, but it's a dangerous time because the chances of them getting eaten are very high. Kyle, you're in Gauteng and wondering why there are no springbok here. There are no springbok here because it's too wet. Now, I know that sounds like an utterly ridiculous thing to say about a semi-arid area, but it's true. The springbok is a desert animal, a desert-adapted animal, and they survive really well where the rainfall is about 300 millimeters a year or less. Now, for those of you who are operating in the imperial system, first of all, I'm sorry, and second of all, that's about 12 inches of rain a year. Below that level, you'll find springbok replace impala. So they don't really occur. I don't know of anywhere obvious that they occur together, unless they've been reintroduced. So there's some reserves where they've reintroduced both. Places in the Cape, for example, Kwandwe, I know, which is a beautiful reserve outside Grahamstown, or Makhanda, in the Eastern Cape. They have got springbok and impala. Oh, the oxpeckers are having a good meal there. Andy, no, their testicles do not drop with a clang. Their testicles drop with a very slow hum. So it doesn't happen suddenly. They don't suddenly wake up and think, gosh, that's uncomfortable. It happens slowly as the testosterone levels in their bodies increase. It doesn't seem to happen to all of them, I must say, but to many. Got a nice sighting of impala. We often don't have great sightings, they move off. So it's a juvenile oxpecker on the right and two adults. And look at don't you think it looks like it must feel quite nice until they start digging like that? But I imagine that pneumatic combing, which is what they're doing, must be quite pleasant. I'd quite like a personal oxpecker to sit on my head and do that to me all day. Josh, these are red-billed oxpeckers. We do get yellow-billed here from time to time, normally on bigger animals. You see now how he's trying to get into that little wound and try and extract a bit of blood. I think that must feel amazing. He's mesmerized by having his head tickled. He's having a wonderful time. Yeah, he's had enough now. Oh, I feel relaxed just having watched that. Good, we're on our way to the hyena den. Let's go now to Lauren, who's got 2 Wahlberg's Eagles.
We have a monogamous pair. No, it actually may not be a monogamous pair. I don't have a very good view, but it is 2 Wahlbergs. And Wahlbergs are essentially monogamous. I think the one on the right here looks a lot more fluffier. I'm wondering if it's a slightly younger one. But they do have that tuft of feathers at the back of the head. And therefore, it's a Wahlbergies. And we've just, of course, been talking about birds. And of course, Wahlbergs are a perfect example of monogamous pairing. Can be such an advantage for a bird to actually have a partner. Some species of birds, especially raptors, may meet here. So this is where a lot of sort of monogamous partners meet for summer. A plethora of insects, a huge buffet to feed on, and it's the perfect environment to breed. Once breeding season is over, i.e. winter comes, they depart, they leave, we won't see them, and essentially they won't see each other. Sometimes the male and female actually split up and they go their separate ways, and they will meet again the next year for breeding season, but they will meet with the same partner, which is very, very incredible. Imagine, huh? Only meeting for breeding season and then getting freedom for from your partner. I am sure that suits the Wahlbergs just fine. But yes, I think one is an adolescent, so I don't think this is a monogamous pair. But they are essentially monogamous, or supposed to be. Now, as vulgar as this may sound, it's not supposed to, it's actually science. There's a paper released that describes angelfish. And angelfish are, again, tropical reef fish, and they're said to be monogamous, and they've been extensively studied. And the studies actually showed the behavior of the male. The male leaves the female when she's preoccupied with resting or feeding to join a gathering of other fish who are all mating together at the one time. Now, the English word for that is vulgar, so I shall not say it, but that's actually what is termed in science a group gathering of mating. And then once the male has done his thing, he sneaks back to the female. So I think within the animal kingdom, it's all about what serves your purpose. Which social structure, which behavior brings about the best advantages for you. Males always want to mate to continue their bloodline. The more females that a male can mate with in the animal kingdom, then the more offspring they can produce, and therefore their bloodline has a better chance of continuing throughout the generations. Whereas females, eggs are a lot more costly to produce than sperm, by quite a lot. Sperm is very, very cheap in terms of energetics to produce. Eggs are very costly, and therefore females want to choose the male with the sort of strongest and best genes, and therefore she must choose carefully. And if she feels her monogamous partner maybe isn't the best choice, she may seek other opportunities. Okay, Wahlbergs. They're actually going to leave us soon. I think at the end of this month we'll lose our Wahlbergs. Nadie, you're asking what is bringing all the different birds to this area? I think that was the question. It's summer. Soon summer will end, but essentially it's summer. And a lot of migrant birds arrive here. You get migrants from Europe, but you also get intra-African migrants. Migrants from other countries within Africa. And basically summer brings such a change here. The insect life and the food availability, the protein, the delicious sort of creepy crawlies are available everywhere. Water is everywhere, vegetation is lush. It's the perfect place to come so that you can feed. You can stock up, you can bulk up, you can be really healthy, and in your sort of prime, due to all the delicious food that it's the perfect way to start breeding. So lots of migrants come here to eat, and then start advertising to one another to meet a female. If you think of the woodlands kingfisher, I'm sure many of you have heard it, it's very, very vocal, and it's, oh wow, the sunset's beautiful. I'm not sure we can get a view. But the woodlands kingfisher is so vocal because he's trying to attract a lady. Okay, as I drive off into the sunset, how romantic, we are going to send you guys across to andBeyond in Ngala to see what Rowan's up to.
So we just got to Clara Dam, which is a watering hole on the eastern side of andBeyond in Ngala. And we actually just decided to come sit here for a little while. It's very peaceful. There's a slight gentle breeze coming from the north, and you can actually see the ripples on the water as it's approaching us. The beautiful colors of the sunset, very, very gentle pastel colors. There's a woodlands kingfisher that just flew over. There's also a few little grebes in the water. Bunch of white-faced whistling duck in the background. You can hear three-banded plover just flew across. It's stunning. It is peaceful. It is just absolutely wonderful. And got a nice spot to spend for a sunset, because this is when Hippo starts getting active. Keegan has asked me what my favorite bird is, and Keegan, if you were watching a little bit earlier, saw the grey-headed bushshrike. I absolutely love that call. It's known as a ghost bird. I'm sure. Just waiting for the hippo to finish his sentence. As I'm sure James told you earlier, the ghost bird, the sound is just phenomenal. Very ghostly, very eerie. And then my favorite predatory bird would be an African hawk eagle. I like them. I like their strategy in hunting. Yeah, I'd say those two are probably my favorite birds. Predatory and bigger. Thanks, Keegan, for the interest in that. It's a good thing the hippos are starting to wake up, starting to bellow. I'm waiting for one to yawn, and you see the enormous teeth. Quite scary for something that's a vegetarian. So Emily's asked a very interesting question, wanting to know whether hippos kill crocodiles. Emily, yes, they do. Actually, I've never actually seen. No, wait, I did. I was on the Zambezi, and there was about half a crocodile floated by, and the ranger told us it got bitten in half by a hippo. So never get on a hippo's bad side. They don't eat them, but they'll kill them. Very dangerous animals. And I'm just waiting for one to yawn so you can actually see the big teeth. Can you hear the white-faced whistling ducks taking off? Always like hearing those. It's just stunning. It's a beautiful afternoon. So Sal Motto has asked whether hippos are classified as marine mammals. No, they are not. Oh, a bird through the sunset like that is just beautiful. Still keeping a lookout for the little grebes chick, but I'm actually not too sure whether it survived. For now, while we wait for these hippos to start yawning, I'm going to take you back to James, who's with Ribbon, the hyena.
here is Ribbon the hyena, and for those of you who haven't met her, I hope that you are impressed so far. This is Ribbon the hyena, who has just eaten something, well, certainly in the last 24 hours, and slightly disturbingly has relieved herself on her mound. That moisture you can see there is where she has relieved herself, which is, well, let's face it, slightly distasteful, wouldn't you say? Anyway, that's how it is. With hyenas, they don't mind, it doesn't harm them at all, so we shouldn't inflict our human hygiene standards on them. They definitely don't use any hand sanitizer. Just while I'm waiting here, I've had a question from Just Romy, who's interested in what's happened to Tundi. Now, we haven't mentioned her much of late. Tundi is a leopardess that we have been seeing or have watched for many years, and we haven't mentioned her because we haven't seen her. And we haven't seen her, I think, because she's moved slightly further south onto Chitwa, and also the bush is just so thick that finding leopards in this environment requires a lot of on-foot work, and we obviously can't do that while we're driving. So we do walk off into the bush from time to time, but it requires some serious effort on foot. So that's why we haven't seen Tundi, and no one's driving around Chitwa or Little Gowrie, which are other reserves in this area where Tundi would frequent, and that's why we haven't seen her. So no, there's nothing to worry about as far as we know. Carry 2, I saw one picture of the thing at the den this morning. For those of you who don't know, she had brought some kind of furry thing back to the den that had belonged to an animal at one stage that was presumed to be deceased or missing a substantial piece of itself. And the one picture I saw, I just had a flash guess at a white-tailed mongoose tail. Owen reckons there's no ways that's what it was, so I don't know. Having looked at the picture, I didn't agree that the black thing in it was a claw, but Owen reckons it was a claw. I'm afraid I just don't know. I can't tell you. I think we're here at a good time because I don't think she's fed the babies yet. I think she's been sleeping here, and I think she's going to shortly turn around, stick her backside into the hole, and that is when the babies will come out and feed for a while. She might even call them out when she wakes up, and they normally do that just around sunset. So I think we're here at the right time. If she's going to bring them out, I hope it'll be in the next, shall we say, 20 minutes or so. Holding thumbs, crossing toes, etc. Labane, you. Female hyenas have got a pseudo-penis. I say youth because it's such an interesting subject, and I find it so interesting because no other animal has got the same design. I think the pseudo-penis and the design of the genitalia on the female hyena is it's an evolutionary, what should we say, compromise. So the purpose of it is for greeting. It's used for greeting. It's used largely for social dominance, so they'll show social dominance with it from time to time, and that's basically what it's used for. The downside for the hyena is that she has to give birth through it, which is very dangerous for her, and, well, not so much for her, it's painful for her, very dangerous for the cubs. And so why it is that she's got this strange anatomy when things like spider monkeys have got enlarged female genitalia, but they don't have this pseudo-penis where the urethra has combined with the urogenital, or you don't have a urethra, you've got a urogenital tract, so it's a combined tube. I can't help thinking that it's the way it was designed. It happened through evolution. I'm not sure that it's the most advantageous adaptation, but it works for hyenas. So often when we look at nature, we see the designs that there are, and we think to ourselves, well, that must be the optimum design for that animal. And that's not always true. A great example is octopi, or octopuses. You can probably say either. They can swim, right? They can move in the water, they can propel themselves in the water. And their ability to swim has evolved independently of the ability to swim in, say, fish. But fish are extremely effective swimmers. Octopi are really poor swimmers in comparison. But it's the best they can do with the design that they have. And it's effective enough for the design that they have for them to continue in the diversity that they do continue. So I quite like that example, because it illustrates quite nicely how, that while evolution has blessed many things with ultimate designs for survival, there have been compromises made along the way, and, I suspect that this system of giving birth through the urogenital tract is something of a, I don't want to say a mistake, but it's so unusual in the animal kingdom that it's only ever occurred once, as far as we know, and that's really quite odd, because there are other mammal species with female-dominated societies like this, and they don't have the same system. Make sense? No. Linda Sutu, the hyena is definitely not a hermaphrodite. They were thought to be hermaphrodites for many years before anybody actually got hold of a hyena and looked at it properly and understood the anatomy. They're definitely not hermaphrodites. This is a female hyena, and in fact, Owen, if you zoom in on her backside before it gets too dark, what you can see there is the false scrotum. Don't move your tail, Ribbon. Keep it there. That little sort of pouch is the false scrotum. So that's a little sack of fat, basically, which looks like testicles but isn't testicles. Yeah, that's it. That's all you got. That's fine. And yeah, they're definitely not hermaphrodites. So there's no function there. They can't change sex at all. She's a female. She's just got strange anatomy. So they're not like fish. Many fish species which can change sex and do change sex dependent on, the ratio of males to females in a population, or the dominance. Right, Rowan is still at the dam. Please tell me which dam it is, so I can reminisce when I get back. We're going to go back up to Rowan and his hippos.
James, this is Claro Dam that we are at. And so far, not too much has changed. There's been one yawn from one hippo, and they've also bellowed once. So I'm hoping that there's a lot more yawning coming our way, especially where they are now with the reflection of the bright sky. Oh, come on. That would be absolutely lovely. Just so far, not much else has changed. Nothing's come down to drink just yet. So we'll just patiently wait. I can hear a hyena in the background now. Bitch was cuckoo calling. Hear that? Whoop. It's a hyena. It's quite far from here. I'd estimate maybe 2 kilometers. A lovely bush fart noise. Oh, and the colors of the sunset. Colors of the sunset just getting better and better. Love being interrupted by Hippo. Anytime. Marcel also looks like he's quite happy, quite at peace here at Florida. Marcel describes a hippo grunting as a calming sound. So Keegan's asked whether are terrapins common in these waters. Keegan, absolutely. Can see a few heads bopping up every now and then, but then going down. So this washing hole does have a few. Keegan, I don't know if you've ever made the mistake of picking up a terrapin, but I can tell you I have once. Before I worked at andBeyond in Ngala, I once drove around a puddle at another game reserve, and I saw the terrapin in there, and I wanted to show the guest, and so I picked it up, and I'll never, ever, ever, ever make that mistake again. It's like the accumulation of 7 years of rotten fish, just all shelled up in one little terrapin. Horrible. But yes, there are terrapins here. On a very lighter note. Marcel like that. Have you picked up a terrapin?
No.
He's never made that mistake. Come on, Hippo, yawn for us, please. Now the hyenas have gone quiet again. So Sam is wondering if a hippo sleeps standing in water or on land. So Sam, their comfortable zone would be in water. This is where they feel protected. And like you, when you go to bed, you feel comfortable and protected in your bed. So you'd rather sleep in your bed than outside. So it's the same thing for a hippo. They feel calmer, more protected, safer in the water. So they will sleep in the water. Mind you, they sleep majority of the time during the day, where they would spend most of the time as well. I've got good news. Keegan's also picked up a terrapin. Virtual high five, Keegan. Thank you for making my day. We will never do it again, Keegan and myself, can tell you that. This is the longest I've waited for a hippo to yawn. I'm not complaining. It is a lovely area to sit and wait, but I'm just saying. Lovely. There are woolly-necked storks flying over now, right in front of the sunset there. Beautiful. Onto the dead tree. So Rico's asked whether hippo can float or stand on the bottom. Rico, both of those. So they have buoyancy. They can. Actually, they're quite rather good swimmers or floaters. Or they can sink back to the bottom if they want. At the moment, I think they are floating. If I remember correctly, when this dried up, this was actually quite deep where they are now. Mind you, this dried up completely last year, and then luckily we had a lot of rain and it filled it up again. Natalie's asking me if there's something on the window. Natalie, I do not know. So Jamie, me and myself are sitting here laughing. So Jamie in Abu Dhabi has asked if hippos, is it true hippos can only run in a straight line? I'm guessing he's saying hippos. Natalie ask, can windows only run in a straight line? Natalie, so far I've seen curved windows. Jamie, love that sound. So hippos can also turn very quickly. I think a lot of people actually make the mistake, and I've spoken to some of my guests that's been on safari with me before, and they say, no, if they have to outrun a hippo or rhino, it'll be easy, they'll just run in a circle. It's actually amazing to watch these animals maneuver. I've seen a rhino basically jump up and do a 180, and as I can imagine, a hippo would probably be able to do exactly the same thing. Very, very dangerous on land, and I think they maneuver a lot quicker than people would imagine them to. Very short legs, stubby legs, and big bodies, so it's easy for a person to... Just keeping quiet so you can enjoy that sound with me as well. So it's easy for a person to misjudge them, really. But yeah, they can cut corners.
I've been chased by a rhino while on the back of a vehicle, and I can tell you, it's agile.
Easy. Very, very agile. Both of these animals. Well, hippos as well. And windows. Windows curve quite nicely. Alrighty. Okay, so we are going to move on. Does not look like this hippo is going to yawn for us. So before the sun is completely down, we're going to send you back to James, who's still with Ribbon.
Pretty sure the sun is completely down, isn't it? Certainly seems to be this end of the world, but that's okay. Ribbon, I'm afraid, has not proved my premonition correct. Today doesn't seem to be the day. We'll give her a few more minutes, maybe 15 or so, and then she can be left in peace to sleep off what was a very vast meal yesterday, apparently. And then it included some carnivore meat. As you can see, she's breathing quite heavily still, and that's purely a function of a fat, full belly. And it causes panting because the digestive process creates quite a lot of metabolic heat. And so she's got to pant a little bit to lose that heat. And also, a bit like if you've had a massive, massive Sunday lunch and you're lying on the sofa afterwards asking yourself if you'll ever be able to eat again, and in fact admonishing yourself for eating so much, you'll find that your breath is quite a lot shallower than it would be normally, because your diaphragm is pushing up. Alright, we're going to go into infrared now, and then count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because it's just become impossible. There we are. It's a bit of a brighter picture for you. So just to reiterate there, the diaphragm is not able to expand the same way as it might with such a fat belly. Otherwise the day is calmed down. The birds have decided, or the diurnal ones anyway, that tomorrow is another day, exactly the same as this. I don't think they have weekends too much out here. Yeah, that's a really interesting question and a good one from Callum. Callum, they do groom themselves, but not much. They're not really concerned too much with grooming themselves. Now, again, I've yet to read anything like this, but I'm pretty sure that the cats clean themselves so much, not so much for health reasons, but because they don't want to smell like a carcass, so they don't want to smell like rotting meat. And that's because they depend heavily on being able to sneak up on their prey. And if they smell like a piece of steak that's been left out in the sun for 2 weeks, then their prey is going to smell them coming, right? Now, hyenas, while they do hunt, they're not sneak predators. They're not ambush predators. And so they don't really care what they smell like. And I can't ever remember having a lion walk past me and thinking to myself, you know what, that lion really stinks. I can't remember that happening unless they've been actually at a kill, where they're covered in what we call viscera. But hyenas are very different. Hyenas really, what do we say, clunk. It's quite a nice word. They really do clunk quite badly. And that's because they don't really care about what they smell like. They're not ambush predators. They don't sneak up on their prey. They just try and run their prey down, and a lot of the time they're scavenging. So they don't spend any time washing themselves and cleaning themselves. And that little theory of mine's borne out by wild dogs, which also don't spend any time cleaning themselves, and they also clunk quite badly. Make sense? I'm so glad I got to use the word clunk tonight. Quite like it. To clunk or not to clunk, that is the question. Not to clunk is the idea. Let us now go across to Lauren and find out where she is taking her sultry Scottish tones.
I am on a bit of a mystery bumble. I'm doing the Western Edge, which I have not done in quite a while. It's not one of the most pleasant roads to drive, I won't lie, but we heard rumours of a male lion, and we now know where Hukamuri is. Hukamuri is one of our favourite male leopards, and he has a very unusual appearance, shall we say. Now, he was last seen, I think, this morning on Arathusa airstrip, which is to the west of our property, and we cannot traverse it, but at least we know his whereabouts. It's not too far away, so I thought, let's just take a chance. Let's take a bumble and see if anything is crossing from the west into the east, and that's essentially what we want. Our pride of lions, our Nkohomas, are actually not too far away. They're on a property south called Hoffman's. So you never know. All it takes is for any of these characters to just pop across to Djuma. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm up to. I'm on the western boundary, hoping for something. Well, Holly, the sun is just setting. Here we have it. I'm not sure if we can give you any sort of nice view from here. Is anything possible, Davy? There we go. This is what we have. So the sun is almost setting, and of course it's now 6 o'clock. So it varies depending on sort of what the cloud cover is like, what kind of day it's been, but essentially around that 6 o'clock mark, the sun starts to set. And of course it changes. It changes as we move through the seasons. So normally we actually change the times of our safaris. We just recently changed our sunrise safari to make it half an hour later, which means we get half an hour extra in bed. But yes, we change according to the season and according to the daylight. Darkness can really work. Using your spotlight can really, really help you find the animals. Can really get lucky with nocturnal animals or crepuscular animals. Nocturnal means active at night, and crepuscular means active sort of at sunrise, sunset times. So you can get really lucky. You just need to look for that eye shine. And that's why we use a spotlight. We're not trying to look for the animal. We're not trying to pick out an animal's outline or its body. We're just looking for the eye shine. And that will, of course, let us know that there's somebody there looking at us. They have a special reflective layer that picks up the light and reflects back at us, and that's why we see it. Oh, Daniel. 6 years old in Pretoria. You are asking one of the most difficult questions. What is my best ever sighting? Oh, I should have an answer for this by now. I have so many, Daniel. I have, well, seeing ribbons, cubs at 1 day old, just 2 weeks ago with Davy was one of my favourite sightings. Not so long ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, correct me if I'm wrong, Davy, we had a huge pack of wild dogs, 22 wild dogs, 22. And they almost took down a water buck. That was a great sighting. And, oh, I've had so many leopard ones, I can't even begin to tell you. I've been very, very lucky out here. But apparently, Rowan has found a bird for you, and it's a very endangered bird, the grand hornbill.
So we have been able to find a bird for us. This turns out it's Marcel's favorite bird. It's a southern ground hornbill. It's actually been rather strange in the last week or so that we've been able to find them all over the place, nearly every single day. It's a huge bird, spends majority of its time on the ground, hunting on the ground, but then of course for safety reasons would go up into a tree to sleep, and I think that's exactly what this hornbill might be doing here for tonight. It's all alone. It's quite strange. We often find them in family groups or flocks rather than all alone. I wanted to turn its head so you can see the enormous bill. There we go. That's, yeah, very big. Very, very big. Marcel was telling me a story earlier where there was a hornbill nest in a tree, and apparently, oh, there's the other one, just to its left, or to, I guess, to his right. There's a hornbill nest, and a young male leopard went to investigate and basically popped his head into the hole where the hornbill was nesting, and the hornbill apparently smacked him on the head with its bill. The young male leopard got a very big fright and left the nest. I can imagine everyone's surprise. But I must say, leopards are really quite inquisitive and fun to watch. See that big wing that it just stretched out? Fun to see them hop from branch to branch. Not the lightest bird, I hope the branch doesn't break. Happens every now and then when they jump off from a branch. A beautiful scene to watch, just the silhouette. There we go. One's now joined the other. Yeah, you can see the branches bending, just a little bit moving around quite often. That one does not want to play with the other one. Love Our Guide, what a beautiful name, has asked whether we get ostriches on andBeyond Ngala. So we do, not too often, but we do. We have a rather high predator density on Ngala. So lots of hyenas, lots of leopard, lots of lion, because Ngala means lion. And then also we tend to see quite a few wild dogs. So ostriches really don't do too well here, but every now and then we do, and there's a lot of excitement on the radio from whichever ranger finds the ostrich. Quite strange. It's a very funny track to see, a very big bird, but like it looks like a dinosaur track almost on the road, an ostrich. But I haven't seen too many. I think 4 years ago, just off the eastern boundary, we had a female, and she had 10 youngsters, which was quite cute to see. This very big ostrich walking in front, and then 10 little ostriches following her. But sadly, about a week later, there was only 8 left, and then we didn't ever see them again. So they might have gone east. Maybe all 8 of them are still alive with the mother, hopefully. How absolutely gorgeous is the scene. That sun setting, the dead tree, and just the 2 birds roosting. It's funny that the one came from the right, flew to the from the left, flew to the right, and then the one that was on the right went to the left. Really just not wanting to socialize with the other one. Just deciding it is now time for bed, I guess. Alright, so we're going to leave them here and then continue our way looking for other things. It is dark enough now, so I've switched on the spotlight, the headlights are on, and we are on our way. Very, very, very nice evening out here. Okay, so while we are driving and looking for things, I'm gonna send you back to Lauren so she can give you a quick update.
I don't have a quick update, I'm afraid. I'm still searching in the dark, and now we really have almost no ambient light. The sun really has set now, and therefore spotlighting it is. You can go for the lighthouse effect, you can go for the James Hendry technique, or you can just go for resting your arm luxuriously on the side of the door and swiveling. There's lots of different spotlight techniques. On the other vehicle, you don't have the luxury to rest your elbow, but luckily on this vehicle you do. Now, it really isn't a great road. It's bumpy and it's not the most attractive road, but it's a crossover point between properties, and it's sort of pivotal in us learning about the movements of where our animals are. So I think I'm going to opt for this spotlighting technique. We might find a chameleon tonight. I tried very, very hard last night. Radar? Radar? You're asking about fireflies. Yes, we do. We do. I actually don't notice them so much out here. When I've been in Thailand for quite a long time, in Bali, we used to get swarmed by the fireflies at night time. But I have to say, I don't notice them out here, but yes, we do. We do get them. And of course, it's not just the predators you're looking for. You can see the nocturnal eyes of any nocturnal animal, from your white-tailed mongoose to your bush babies. Imagine if we got lucky with a porcupine. It's actually not just your predators that you're looking for in the dark time, but of course, they get mobile around this time too. And it's not chameleons' eye shine that we see, it's their body glow. WJ, 1 year old. My goodness. In Cape Town. What a question. My niece and nephew are 1.5. Chameleons, the species that we get out here is the flat-neck chameleon. And really, they don't go much bigger than my hand, the palm of my hand. There are smaller species. Their tail is elongated, and of course this wraps around branches. But essentially, the flat-necks really don't get too long. Maybe just a little bit bigger than my hand. They're very petite chameleons, and they are the most common species that we get out here. I think they're the only species, actually, that we get out here in the low veld. Nadal, you're 10 years old and you're from Minnesota. You're asking a very good question, because it always changes. How many animals do we see in a day? Well, sometimes we are lucky enough to see many. Davi and I were actually just reminiscing about a drive that I did on my own. The other presenter was not very well, I'm afraid. So I did 3 hours alone, and we were running around the property like crazy. We managed to find a pride of lions that we hadn't seen in so long, called the Inkahumas. And then we raced towards a leopardess called Tandy, who's our queen. and she was eating in the tree. She'd stolen her daughter's kill. And then we raced to find another leopard that we don't see too often called Shadulu, the Duchess of the West. And that was a very, very busy drive. In between, I'm sure we saw lots of birds and lots of insects flying around. It was a very, very eventful, lucky drive. I'm sure we saw elephants that day too, Darby. And then some days, Nadal, you see nothing. And right now, I'm not going to lie to you all, we are struggling because the bush is so thick. It's the thickest it's ever been. It's almost impenetrable. It's so thick, and that's why we are struggling to pick out animals. Technically, there could be a leopard right behind this bush right now, and I wouldn't know. So it's really, really challenging for us right now. That's why we smell.
Sorry about that crash cut. That's the technical term for what just happened there. A loss of signal and a sudden arrival as another vehicle. That is the crash cut. We are now driving in the darkness, as you can see. Rabone did absolutely zilcho smilcho while we were there. Oh, and I wanted to address a very nice email sent through from Hannes Dubois. I hope I'm saying it correctly. Hannes wrote to us to tell us about dinosaur ages because I got them wrong. I was told that I think he was in Texas and I've forgotten his name and I'm sorry. But earlier on I said I thought the dinosaurs died out around about 100 million years ago. And Hannes wrote to say, no, it was about 65 million years ago that the dinosaurs ceased to be. So they existed from about 240 million years ago to 65 million years ago. Now that's a span of some, let me do my mathematics correctly, roughly 180 million years. Now when you consider that the human being, the species Homo sapiens, has only been around for an outside maximum, as far as we know, of about 360,000 years, it is really it's gobsmacking to think. So that is, let me try and see if my mathematics is still able to function correctly. So it would be roughly, as a percentage of the time that the dinosaurs are around, while I do my maths, you can look at that scrub here. I'll just turn the light off it. Bang on the infrared. There we go. So if it was 180,000 years, then it would be 10%, 0.1%. My mathematics lost me. 10 million, 100 million. Yeah. So 0.1%. So it's 0.2% of the time that the dinosaurs around our own species has been around. Probably less than that. 0.2%. Now that's quite something to think about. And dinosaurs roamed the earth for an immensely long time in comparison with how long we've been here. No. Matt, that's a really nice question. Humans don't have an eye shine like animals, and I'll show you. I'll just step a little bit away from the infrared light. But if Owen shines the infrared light in my eyes, you'll see there's no eye shine at all, and that's because we don't have this thing in the back of our eyes called the tapetum lucidum, and that helps reflect light into the eyes of nocturnal animals. So you see my eyes did not reflect there. Did they, Owen?
No, but you're right in it.
Yes. Oh, we're now out of sync, so never mind. I will just keep my jaw away from the camera and then we won't be able to see. Let's go back to the scrub hair. Or did it run away as I got out? Maybe it's still there. Alrighty, we'll continue. Apparently there's an elephant at the dam cam. We'll head on to there as you consider the fact that human beings have been on Earth 500 times less, or for 500 times as little time as the dinosaurs are on Earth. Go to Rowan. I'm losing myself.
3 of us are at this stage just driving around and looking for whatever we can find. So we are now driving parallel to the Timbavati River. The Timbavati River is on our left-hand side. And I must say, really a splendid, splendid evening. Temperature-wise, it is just gorgeous. It's a lot better than last night. Last night, Sean and myself went out tracking, and I remember driving back, my knees were... No, actually, when we stopped at the lodge, my knees were basically blue. Of course, I was sitting on that seat there, while Sean very comfortably just sat where I am now with the aircon on. But I guess someone has to work while the other one has fun. You can tell Sean I said that. Right, so we are basically looking for anything nocturnal. You'll see if we do come across anything diurnal or active during the day, we will switch the headlights off and also the torch, and then move slowly past, waiting for them to walk off the road. Anything nocturnal will point out as soon as I do see it. With the spotlight, of course, the light is reflected in their eyes, so that's why we are shining it around rather than trying to scare the animals off the road or clear the road. I get that question quite often, so just wanted to explain that. Sure. So just so Kudu's asked an interesting question. What are the chances of coming across an aardvark in daylight? I have never, but they do occur. I mean, it's not impossible. It's more unlikely than coming across them at night, even though here on andBeyond in Ngala, I think the last aardvark was seen maybe about a year ago. But it does happen. Again, cooler temperatures, you'll probably most likely find them more on a cool, cloudy day than a very hot and sunny day. So I wouldn't say impossible, but I've never seen one here during the day, always at night time. There's a cell phone tower to my left, has a red light at the top, so every time I shine the spotlight there, it shines the red. What is that? It's caught me twice now. Quite a fun road to drive after dark. Very, very thick. Lots of trees, lots of very thick bushes. I got charged here by a buffalo once walking on this road. It's known as Big Bend. And part of our training is we have to walk on the reserve to get to know the reserve. So you need to walk all these roads with a notebook, a tree book, a bird book, whatever else book you want, 2 peanut butter sandwiches, 4 liters of water, a radio, and a rifle. And they send you out, they drop you off at 5 o'clock, summertime, or 5:30. Still got nice and cool, but it's light enough already. And they say, okay, so today you have to walk this route. And this turned out to be my first road that I had to walk. And remember walking across, as you can see, you can't really see around the bend here because the plants are so thick. So I came around a bend and there was a buffalo standing in front of me. And I remember the trainer saying, okay, so whatever you do, don't run. Oh, there's an owl. Like a barn owl. Just landed up top there. Is it? Or spotted eagle owl? Let me get the binoculars out. There's a barn owl. Lovely to see. Good. Very, very nice. Louise says it's a Varro's eagle. Sorry, I'm trying to shine the spotlight and use my binoculars. And try reverse just a little bit. Louise, you might be right. Oh, yeah, face us. Louise, I think you are indeed right. It is a Varro's eagle owl. Sorry. Wow, I got so excited. I've not seen a barn owl for a long time. It's a very lovely bird, don't get me wrong. Varro's eagle owl. I'm going to take the spotlight off it soon, just because I think it is trying to hunt. And then us shining the spotlight on gives it position away. Me and Marcel was discussing barn owls earlier today. We've got a nest somewhere in the south that we actually parked in to see if we can see anything. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to take the spotlight off now. And then, okay, got it. Marcel is going to infrared. Anything? A little bit dark still. Just see the outline a little bit, but not too much. Sorry, Louise, but you are 100% right. The Varro's eagle owl, the largest owl that you'll find here. So yeah, I got charged by a buffalo. Actually, what it did first was just paw the ground with its front hoof, like if you can imagine a mean bull in Spain. Anyway, so I remember the trainer saying if they do this, like slowly back off. And so I slowly backed off, and then it took 2 steps forward. And at this stage, the first thing they tell you is whatever you do, do not run. It's like the golden rule. And of course, I ran. I ran about 30 meters, climbed a tree, and waited for the buffalo. The buffalo never came. I think I stayed in the tree for about 30 minutes. Had one of my peanut butter sandwiches. I think I actually phoned my mom from this tree as well. And then continued my walk. Never saw the buffalo again. Vivid memories. I'm quite scared of buffalo now. Oh, sounds like Lauren's got something flapping in the grass. I'm going to send you back to Djuma.
We have a bushveld antlion, one of my favorite insects that I've only managed to get on camera once, and I didn't actually know what it was. They're around our camp a lot, and they're huge. You can see his eyes are reflecting. And it's flapping about the grass here. Also another nocturnal animal. We tried to show you a hawk moth earlier, but it was very busy pollinating. Moths don't get anywhere near as much credit as they deserve for being very important pollinators, because they do most of their pollination at night. And there's a lot more moths than there are butterflies, and they really don't get accredited for being pollinators. Wow, this antlion's incredible. I don't quite know what it's up to here. They also don't have a long life cycle as an adult, I'm afraid. But they are nocturnal. I rarely see these during the day. They hide in amongst the vegetation. And at night time, they really come out and they flutter. Sometimes they flutter into your lights. What's wrong, little guy? Oh no, don't go into the car. Now I can't drive. Oh no. So I think we're going to have to be careful how we move, but I have a funny feeling this type of behavior is very common for insects that are at the end of their life cycle, I'm afraid. It happens to butterflies and moths as well. Oh, I'm glad we got to show you one, but I think this little guy is at the end of his life cycle. Do you think we can get one last view of it, Davy, or is it impossible? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I just need to make sure I don't run over him. No, you stay there. Stay there. Don't go into my car. There we go. We made it, we made it. So it's been quite a diverse drive this afternoon, I must say. From birds, to insects, to hippos, to predators, to ribbon doing wonderful hyena things as they all do. We have 20 seconds to find you a leopard though. I'm not sure it's going to happen. So I must say thank you everyone for jumping on board. It's always a pleasure to have each and every one of you here with us. So please jump on board again tomorrow morning. And until then, good night.